From the NIRSA Championship Studios in Tallahassee, Florida, I'm David Peters, and this is the road to the 2023 NIRSA National Soccer Championships. We're just days away from the 2023 edition of the NIRSA National Soccer Championships, headed to Round Rock, Texas, November 16th through 18th. And coming up on today's show, we'll take 96 collegiate teams that are headed to Texas and divide them into pools for pool play. 4 in all: men's championship, men's open, women's championship, and women's open, all going for a national title next week in Texas. And also on today's show, we'll be joined by Marty Dempsey. He'll have representatives from across the country to talk about the tournament experience and to preview this year's tournament field. That's all coming up on today's show. It's the road to the 2023 NIRSA National Soccer Championships. Let's begin with our first division. That'll be the men's championship division this year. 24 teams in all, 8 pools. There are 3 teams in each pool. The top 2 move into the championship bracket. They'll go for the national title. The third place team after pool play will move into a consolation bracket to finish their tournament experience separately. Let's begin with Pool A, and in Pool A are our defending national champions. In fact, 3-time defending champions, BYU. They are joined by the Sun Devils of Arizona State out of region number 5 at 7-0-1 this year. A good season for the Sun Devils. And the University of Florida. They were the last national champion before BYU started its run. The Gators won it back in 2018. In Pool B, it's Michigan, Rutgers, and Texas Tech. Michigan is a Region 3 co-champ, a great season so far at 13-0-1. They made the semifinals in 2021. Rutgers is out of Region number 1, a co-champion there, and Texas Tech is back in the championship division for the 5th straight year. In Pool C, it'll begin with Minnesota, Texas, and Georgetown. Minnesota 9-0-1 on the season, a Region 5 co-champ. They were the national runner-up last year. Texas was the national runner-up back in 2021. They're out of Region number 4. And Georgetown is making its second trip to the championships. They were here last year. In Pool D, it'll begin with the Tar Heels of North Carolina, joined by UConn and Ohio State. UNC is making its 8th straight championship bracket appearance. They were in the quarterfinals last year and the semifinals back in 2021. UConn out of Region 1, having a good season at 12, 1-1 this year. And Ohio State was the 2014 national champion. In Pool E, it begins with Cornell, followed by Wisconsin and Georgia Tech. Cornell is a Region 1 co-champion this year at 11-0-3. They're usually on the open division side. This year, they're on the championship division side for the first time since 2015. A regular, however, on the championship division side is Wisconsin. They've been in it now for 8 straight seasons, and they are 12, 1-1 this year. Georgia Tech from Region 2 is back. This is their first trip to the tournament since 2016. Pool F begins with Missouri. They're joined by the Ducks of Oregon and Illinois. Mizzou is 9-0-2 this year out of Region number 4. They were in the open semifinals last year. Oregon was an open quarterfinalist last year. They were out of Region 6. And out of Region 3 is Illinois. They were in the championship quarterfinals last year as well. Pool G starts off with Virginia Tech. It also includes UCLA and the Gold Squad from Colorado. Virginia Tech comes out of Region 2 this year. They are 10-0-2. They were in the championship semifinals back in 2018. UCLA is the open division champion last year. We're glad to have them over now in the championship division for this season. And Colorado is a 6th straight appearance. That's their 6th straight this year in the championship division. And in Pool H, it begins with Indiana, followed by Colorado State and Northeastern. The Hoosiers are 13-0-1 out of Region 3, another co-champion there. It's their first appearance, however, in the championship division since 2011. Colorado State is a regular. It's their 5th straight in the championship tournament. And Northeastern is back. They were in the quarterfinals back in 2014. All right, let's take a look at all those pools once again. From Pool A to Pool H, the top 2 teams in each pool advance to the championship playoff brackets. We'll talk about that bracket a little bit later. The playoffs begin on Friday. The championship for the men will be at 3 p.m. Central on Saturday, and you can follow the coverage of the tournament online from the opening kick to the final whistle at NIRSAplay.com or on social media at NIRSAChamp. But let's go down now to my colleague, Marty Dempsey at the University of Florida, where he is joined by a special guest. Marty?
Hey, thanks, Dave. Welcome to our Gainesville studios here. My name is Marty Dempsey. Happy to be along with you. I'm going to have a series of special guests to break down the tournament. And my first one here is Cameron Pennock. He is from BYU University. They have turned into such a machine. 4 out of 5 championships, Cameron. I know in your 3rd year there, you've known nothing but national championships in your time, but I know it's hard work every single year. But welcome to the show, Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you, Marty.
So we talk about those now, 3-time defending national champions, 4 out of 5. Walk us through what this 2023 team has looked like. What's special about this version of BYU that's really hit home with you?
Yeah. So this team, our coach has said a lot of times, this team is just a very, very deep team. Our subs, whenever they go on, the level doesn't really drop very much, which is very special about a team. You don't find that a lot. And so we're just excited, especially going into nationals, playing 6 games. We're going to need those subs. We're going to need every player out there. And so just having them be at that same level as everyone else just is going to help so much more.
Sure, absolutely. The depth there. And that's the reason why you come back year after year. You have people graduate, and you all have done such a great job of getting your younger players, ready to step up into that starring role. Let's talk about a little bit about your pool. So we just heard there that your opponents that you will face, Arizona State and the University of Florida. You've won 4 out of the last 5. Well, the only year that you didn't win, Florida Gators did take home that. So, what looks to be another competitive pool for you as you all prepare for pool play. You've had no problem advancing through that, but I'm sure that comes with a lot of work and strategic planning. How do you all plan to get through pool play on a yearly basis? What goes into that?
Yeah, so we make sure we go into every game with the mindset that nothing is just given to us. We have to fight for every game. Every team wants to beat us because we know that since we have won that many championships, we are the team to beat. And yeah, I wasn't there in 2018, but our coach still reminds us today that loss still pains him. And so we have to be on our toes. We can't be lazy at all. We just have to be ready for anything. And to have Florida in our group this year, we especially, just need to be always ready for a dogfight in these national championships.
Sure. Being as good as you all are, obviously that takes a lot of commitment back at home. So being a BYU student, I know that this has become a big part of that. So can you talk a little bit about what it means to your team, yourself, as well as your teammates to really have that connection with BYU? What does that mean in terms of your overall student experience?
It's actually really helpful to be on the team, to have a really well-balanced college life. Because we're always worried about schoolwork, going to classes, but as well, basically every day we get to come to practice, see our teammates, have fun, playing these competitive practices, have access to these facilities at the school. So it's a great opportunity for us. And we're all just super blessed to be a part of this program.
Sure. Sport clubs can be such a valuable piece to the holistic well-being for college students. You talk about the physical side, that's obvious there. The social well-being, I mean, I'm sure developing lifelong friendships with folks that have been part of your team and have been through this grind with you on a daily basis. So, really, really excited for that is a huge piece for sport club programs around the country. Not only with that, though, there's some leadership skills that you gain as well. I know you serve as a captain. I know you mentioned that you were going into a pre-business as a third-year student. So, obviously some leadership required in that field for sure. What skills do you think you're acquiring or growing and developing through that captain's role with the team that you'll be able to take with you further in life?
Being a captain, so there's a few of us captains and we have different roles on the team. But being a captain, you just kind of realize you have to step up just a little bit more in being accountable to yourself, being there on time, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it's actually a great opportunity because you have to be able to step up in circumstances that you might not otherwise have to, just in the small moments, in practices, make sure everybody's paying attention and just being aware of other people's needs as well. So it's actually a pretty fun opportunity.
That's awesome. Well, Cameron, we wish you the best of luck this year as you go for 5 out of 6. Can anybody unseat BYU? I know the gentleman right here hopes that is not the case, but good luck to you and all of our teams in our championship division. We still have 24 teams to learn about. So now for our open bracket reveal on the men's side, back to you, Dave.
Thanks very much, Marty. We'll switch to the men's open division now. 24 more teams, but here are just 6 pools, 4 teams in each pool. The top team will make it into the open division playoffs. They'll be joined by 2 wildcards to make an 8-team field that'll go for the men's open championship. And we'll begin in Pool A here in men's open with Kansas, Virginia, Colorado College, and Rochester. Kansas and Colorado College are back in the Open Division for the 5th straight year each. It's the first visit for Rochester. Pool B has Colorado, their second team, along with Tampa, TCU, and Quinnipiac. For Tampa, it is their second appearance. They were here last year. TCU is back in the tournament for the first time since 2012, and it's the first appearance for Quinnipiac. In Pool C, Minnesota, Miami of Ohio, James Madison, and Utah Valley. Miami of Ohio was last year's Open Division runner-up. JMU made the Open Division semifinals in 2019 and 2018. They were in the championship division for the last couple of years. And Utah Valley is back for the 5th straight year. They were a semifinalist in 2021. In Pool D, it's Weber State, Iowa State, Babson College, and Xavier. Weber State was in the championship division last year, so headed over to Open Division this season. Iowa State and Babson College are both back. They were in Open last year. And Xavier is back for the first time since 2019. In Pool E, it's Purdue, Cal State San Marcos, LSU, and High Point. Purdue was in the Open Division Championship in 2019. In fact, they were the champion. They made the quarterfinals last year, and LSU is back for the 5th straight season in the Open Division. And finally, in Pool F, Cincinnati, Cal Poly, UMass, and Texas Rio Grande Valley. It's Cincinnati's appearance after an Open Division semifinal last year. In the quarterfinals last year was Cal Poly, and UMass is back. They were in the tournament last year. We welcome UTRGV to this year's tournament. Here's a summary of all those pools once again on the Open Division side. 4 teams in each from Pool A to Pool F. The playoffs will begin on Friday with 8 total teams in the Open side. The final for Open Division is on Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. Let's take a pause now and go back down to Gainesville, where Marty Dempsey is standing by with some NIRSA colleagues to talk about the men's championship and Open Division fields. Marty?
Thanks, Dave. Well, you have heard it now, the 48 teams that will compete in our men's division, both on the championship side and the open side. I'm so excited to welcome in our analysts today to help break down the men's section of the tournament. Please welcome Jess Quadra from Syracuse University and Keith Willems from Purdue University. Welcome to the show, folks.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So let's get right in. The big topic on the table is who is going to unseat BYU. They are the 3-time defending national champions on the men's side. They've won 4 out of the last 5. They've become a powerhouse like we've never seen before in this tournament. So when you look at all the competitors here, we know that there's some really great teams. Who do you think has some of the best chances to unseat BYU? Jess, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with Cornell, kind of representing Region 1 for a little bit. But they had a great regional tournament. They won. They were co-champions. I think they could give them a little bit of a run. And I mean, Minnesota last year also was the runner-up, so potentially Minnesota could also upset.
Sure, absolutely. We know that it is really difficult out of Region 1. It is always it's a really competitive just to get out of that region. And then, like you said, Minnesota, gave them a run last year, reaching all the way to the finals from the Great White North. Keith, what about you?
Yeah, I really like the University of Michigan's chance in the men's championship division. They had a little bit of a cumbersome season last year, 5-0-5, didn't really make it out of the regional. And this year they've turned it around and they're 11-0-1 on their season. So they've had a great turnaround. And I think, they're sitting up there as a top seed that could really potentially do some damage in the men's championship side.
Sure. Well, to get out of the playoffs, of course, you have to make it through pool play, which can be really grueling in a short amount of time. So as you look through the different pools that have just been announced, what pools really stand out to you that are going to be really competitive, filled with experience? Keith, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, I think looking on the open side, there's a pool that has, it's Pool C, has Miami, Ohio. That's the runner-up from last year, and with UCLA not being in the open side anymore, I'm curious to see how they do without having that, the chip on their shoulder runner-up last year, and seeing what they do on the open side in that pool within they have there. Because they also have Minnesota, which, they're in both divisions. So that shows the depth that Minnesota has, and I'm curious to see what that pool looks like on the open side.
Yeah. Jess, what about you?
For the champ side, I'm going to go with Pool D. It seems to have the most veterans and experience. We have Ohio State and North Carolina, who were in the quarterfinals last year. And then you also have UConn, who's been there for 11 of the past 12 years. So a lot of experience, a lot of veterans. So that's the pool to watch.
Yeah, 2 quarterfinalists, in one pool certainly makes it challenging right from the jump. You think about the experience level and what that means. 19 out of the 24 teams that are on the championship side were in this tournament last year, so they know what it's like. They know how strenuous it can be. On the open side, you're welcoming in 9 newcomers. It can be a great chance as far as that open side. And we've seen teams that have gone from the open side in 1 year to quarterfinals, semifinals, even champions on the champ side over the history of this tournament. So when you all as being on staff there before, what do you notice in the difference between those teams that this is common for them, they've been there every year, versus teams showing up for the first time? Jess, what about you?
Well, you'll notice that a lot of the new teams, they'll come in super excited, ready to go on day one. But by day 2, day 3, they're kind of like that energy is lost. Compared to the veteran teams who've been there, they kind of pace themselves throughout the tournament so that they're ready by playoffs or even heading into quarterfinals, championship games. So I guess for new teams, try to level out that excitement so that you can make it throughout the whole tournament.
Mm-hmm. Keith?
I think to echo Jess there, right? I think we have a lot of teams that are coming in with either inexperience or maybe for the first time ever at the national tournament. And I think it's such an exciting thing for them. The big thing is find your recovery time, whether you're driving, flying, however you're getting to Round Rock, find your way to recover and make sure you're doing it in a way that's going to prepare you for each day. They can be some long, grueling days at the facility, and you got to find your way to recover, whether it's at the hotel or relaxing at dinner, things like that. Make sure you get your stretching, stay hydrated, and hopefully we'll have some good weather this year for you too.
Weather certainly played a role in the 2022 version of the tournament. We knew it was cold, it was rainy, it was windy. You had to deal with schedule changes. So you just never know what's going to happen, except for one thing. It's going to be great soccer action in a very compacted amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And with that is our men's pool analysis. Now to hear about our women's brackets for both the open and the championship side, we're going to send it back to Dave Peters. Dave?
Thanks again, Marty. It's time to move to the women's side of the tournament, and 24 teams here in our women's championship division. There are 8 pools, so 3 teams per pool. The top 2 teams will make it into the championship bracket, go for the national title. The third place team will move into a separate consolation bracket to finish their tournament experience. All right, let's begin with Pool A, and it has Virginia, the Cavaliers, joined by the Spartans of Michigan State and the Cyclones of Iowa State. Virginia is this year's Region 2 champion. They are 10-0-2 on the season. Michigan State, 11-1-0 this year. They were in the quarterfinals in last year's tournament and the national champion back in 2015. And Iowa State is here in the championship division after 3 straight appearances in the open division. In Pool B, it's Boston College, the Gold Squad from Colorado, and Purdue. BC this year is the Region 1 co-champion at 9-0-1. Colorado is back for another appearance. In fact, in the last 5 tournaments, they've made the quarterfinals or better. And Purdue, open division quarterfinalists last year, they were a semifinalist in the championship division back in 2021. All right, in Pool C, it's Cal Poly, the defending national champion, joined by Kansas and Cornell. Kansas this year, 9-0-1. They were a runner-up in last year's open division. And Cornell is back for the 4th straight season. Pool D has Illinois, Carolina, and Minnesota. Illinois, the Region 3 champion this year. They're back for the 12th straight year. They've been in every tournament since at least 2011. UNC is back after missing out on last year, but they were the championship division runner-up in 2021. And Minnesota, also a regular. They are in their 6th straight tournament, the 4th on the championship side. In Pool E, it's Texas, Michigan, and UCLA, a batch of 3 huge schools. Texas is having a great season in Region 4. They've been in every tournament in the last decade as well. Michigan, the Region 3 runner-up this season. They were a quarterfinalist in last year's tournament. And UCLA is the reigning national champion from the Open Division. In Pool F, it's Arizona State, South Carolina, and Ohio State. Arizona State, 10-1-1 this year. They're the top seed out of Region number 6, and they're in their first tournament since 2015. They're joined by South Carolina, the runner-up from Region 2, and Ohio State, a championship winner in 2018 and 2019. They made the semifinals last season. In Pool G, it's Colorado State, TCU, and Florida. Colorado State, 13-1-1 this year. They're the top seed out of Region number 5. They've been in every tournament for the last decade as well. TCU is in their first tournament since 2015, and Florida is back after a quarterfinal appearance in 2021. And our last pool for the women's championship side is Pool H. It has Northeastern, Vanderbilt, and Boise State. Northeastern comes to us from Region 1, a co-champion there. Vanderbilt is back after a championship division appearance last year, and Boise State was in the open division last year. We welcome them to the championship side this season. That's a look at the pools. In fact, take a look at them on screen one more time from Pool A to Pool H. The top seeds are on the top line. Playoffs begin on Friday. The championship is on Saturday for the women at 5 p.m. It'll be streamed live online. You can catch all the coverage at NIRSAplay.com or on social media at NIRSAChamp. All right, it's time to take a pause once again and go down to Gainesville. Marty Dempsey with a special guest. Marty?
Hey, thanks, Dave. I'm so happy to be joined by yet another special guest, welcoming in Lily Pennington. She is from Cal Poly, serves as a center mid for our defending women's national champions, looking to get back there this year. How you doing, Lily? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Lily, the last couple of years has really been a Cal Poly show. You've been to the national tournament now. This is your 4th year in a row. You made it to the quarters that first year, the semis. Last year, you finally got it done. You got the trophy at the end of the tournament, and now you're the hunted. So what is it like preparing for the tournament this year now that you know the target's on your back as the defending national champs?
Yeah, that is definitely something we take into consideration. We try to really focus one game at a time. We can't get to the finals if we don't get out of the pool play, out of the quarters, semis. So we really just try and take it one game at a time. Really trying to work together, build up our team chemistry. If we can't be friends off the field, we're not going to be able to work together very well on the field. So here in San Luis Obispo, we do team dinners, just any kind of event we can to really get to know each other better, and so that we are all committed to each other to put it all on the line and really do what we can to get through to the next game.
Sure, absolutely. This year in pool play, Kansas and Cornell coming to visit you, both experienced in the tournament. Kansas last year was the runner-up in the Open division. Cornell has been there 3 consecutive years as well. They've had some success in the tournament. But I want to talk about your road through the regionals, because I know Region 6 can be very difficult. So talk about that road, just getting to nationals for Cal Poly.
Yeah, in both the nationals and in the regionals level, the teams that come to compete are always very competitive. Us being in a quarter system, we start pretty late. We start practices 2 weeks before our first game this year. So really getting going. It's really dive in head first with the 6:30 practices in the morning, the commitment to each other again. And so the teams in our region, playing against good teams helps us to play better too. We learn from every game that we play, coming against some strong teams played in the regionals tournament, and really every game is a fight to get to the next game.
Sure. And the person leading those practices, of course, your coach, Barbara Wong, no stranger to the Cal Poly program. She was a player with you all, right? Yeah, back in 2011, she was on the national runner-up team. So what was it like for her now to lead a team and get over the hump and get her first national title as well?
Yeah, it's been so great to see. She's been a coach for us at Cal Poly since fall of 2015, so she's been around for quite a while, and before that, she was a player. Her commitment to the program is incredible, and it's her dedication like hers that really helps us to move forward and want to perform well. It was great to see last year, once we finally reached that national title, the pride that she showed and that we all felt for the school, for the team. It was really incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, you're not just a player on the field, but as a student there, a junior, studying kinesiology, sport clubs, it's not just about showing up and competing, right? You're the president of the club. There is a lot of work to be done to make this, business organization really what it is going. So, can you talk a little bit about your experience and how you feel like your experience as a sport club officer, as a sport club player, will relate to your future career and your success after your time at Cal Poly?
Yeah, as you said, my major right now is kinesiology, and the plans to go into physical therapy. I'm working at a clinic right now as an aide. So between working there and between my kinesiology classes, where I'm learning about how the body moves, how the body responds to exercise, and even in classes that, like, I have one right now that's managing sport and exercise programs. And so that all really ties together. Being a president for this team, it does take a lot of work, going to the meetings, doing all the paperwork, filling all that information out, getting everyone coordinated for the travel and the rosters for every game. It does take a lot of work and coordination, but through my major, through working, through being the president on this team, I think a lot of this really overlaps and works together to help me grow in all forms of my life, so that hopefully in the future I can apply that to grad school and become a physical therapist and help other people learn how to move better.
I wish you all the best doing that. And I know that there's such rich experiences with participating in these club activities that I know will have benefits for years to come. Lily, I want to wish you the best of luck in the coming weeks at the national tournament. Good luck to Cal Poly, and have a great time this year.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Dave, back to you.
Thanks, Marty. Well, just 24 teams remain, and they're in the women's open division, where we have 6 pools, 4 teams in each pool. The top team, along with 2 wildcards, will form an 8-team open division championship bracket that will start play on Friday, the championship on Saturday. But to get there, here are those pools. In Pool A for our women's open division includes UConn, Missouri, UCF, and Western Michigan. UConn was the championship division runner-up last year. They were the runner-up in the open division in 2021. Missouri is back after a quarterfinal appearance last year, and it's Western Michigan's first NIRSA championship tournament experience. In Pool B, James Madison, joined by the B squad for Maryland, LSU, and Oakland. For James Madison, they were an open semifinalist last year. They won the title back in 2021. LSU is in their first tournament in over a decade, and it's the very first experience in the tournament for Oakland. In Pool C, Oregon, Colorado School of Mines, Grand Valley State, and Millersville. Oregon has had plenty of success in the tournament. They were in the semifinals last year on the championship side. They made the semifinals in the open division in 2021 and won the title in both 2019 and 2017. Grand Valley State is in its 6th straight NIRSA experience. It's the first ever for Millersville. In Pool D, UC Santa Barbara, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, and Quinnipiac. UCSB was the championship division winner in 2016 and 2017. They made the semifinals on that side in 2021. It's Arkansas's 2nd straight appearance after a quarterfinal performance last year, and Quinnipiac is here for the very first time. In Pool E, it begins with Colorado, Vermont, San Diego State, and a team to be determined. Colorado, this is their 2nd squad in the tournament. They also have one on the championship side. Vermont, however, their squad is the only one, and they're here on open. They were quarterfinalists last in 2019, and San Diego State was an open division semifinalist in 2019. They won the open championship in 2018. And Pool F includes Texas A&M, UC Davis, Miami of Ohio, and Alabama. Texas A&M is a regular at the NIRSA tournament. They've been in 9 of the last 10 tournaments. UC Davis was a championship finalist in 2018, and Miami of Ohio is back after their last performance in 2019. It's the very first trip for the Crimson Tide of Alabama. And here's a recap again of all of those teams from Pool A to Pool F. 4 teams in each. The top team again, plus 2 wildcards, will be in the open division tournament. The championship is on Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. You can follow all the coverage online at NIRSAplay.com or on social media at NIRSAChamp. All right, one last trip down to Gainesville now with Marty. He's standing by with special guests to preview the entire field of women's teams in the championship division and open division. Marty?
Dave, thanks again. Seeing now our women's pools, championship and open side. Welcoming back to the studio, Keith and Jess, who will help break it all down for us. Keith, let's start with you and jump right in. Looking to unseat Cal Poly, lots of teams there, but let's take a look at Pool A, Virginia, Michigan State, Iowa State, Virginia, of course, last year, the consolation champions, Michigan State. They were a quarterfinalist. Iowa State has been to this tournament 6 years in a row. Lots of experience in this, lots of competitive nature. What are you looking for out of Pool A?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of offense and a lot of experience, right? We talked about Virginia having been the consolation champ last year. They've no stranger to this tournament, as well as Iowa State. And that experience helps so much when it comes to finding the leadership for your team and getting through the pool play and that grueling schedule. But what I'm really curious to see is Michigan State and their offense. They're at a plus 74 goals for this season in the regular season, 2 goals in the entire season, right? And so they are really coming out of a tough Region 3 where they dominated their division. So I'm curious to see what they can do within that pool play against those really tough teams from other regions as well.
Sure. Switching directions now, Jess, coming to you. Let's talk about Pool E. Mentioned experience. Might not have more experience than the 3 teams in this pool. Texas, Michigan, UCLA. In the last 12 years in the history of this tournament, out of a possible 36 opportunities to qualify for the NIRSA National Championship, those 3 teams have qualified 34 times. can't beat experience. They're there every year. What are you looking forward to out of Pool E?
Yeah, this pool is pretty much a big deal. A lot of veterans, a lot of experience. UCLA was the Open champ last year, so they have a new section or new pool to take over. Then you have Michigan, who was a quarterfinalist last year as well, so they have a chip on their shoulder to try to make it to the championship game and win it. And Texas has the home fans. Hopefully, they make a deeper run this year with the support of the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching over from the championship side into that open bracket, just staying with you. You've got UConn that's right there. UConn was a finalist last year on the championship side. This year competing on the open side of the bracket. That open side can be so important, whether that is building up for the future of your program, getting your feet wet in the first time at the tournament, or maybe just a great send-off for those that have been in your program for a while. Can you talk overall about the experience of what it's like participating in the open division?
Just like you said, Marty, it's very important. A lot of experience that you could gain for either freshmen, sophomores who are just joining the club, and for the seniors, a good send-off. But it's still an important opportunity to win a championship and then potentially next year move up to the championship again.
There's another team that's in the open division that we have to shout out. Keith, coming to you last year, you had a phenomenal little relationship with the James Madison team. I know there's some great interactions there. You can talk about them and the story from the 2022 tournament.
Yeah, of course. So I have to shout out the Dukes from James Madison, affectionately known as Slay MU. And I'm really excited to see them again this year in the open division. And I think, not only because they bring the great vibes, right? If you give a vibe check on the tournament, JMU is going to be in there in the talk of that. But I think they're just fierce competitors too, right? So they're going to have a great time and bring up the energy for the tournament, but they're going to have some really strong games as well. They're no stranger as well to the open division semifinals and championships. Out of the last 3 of the last 4 years, they've been in one of those games. And so they have the experience as well to, not only have a great time and love what we do in NIRSA and make it what it's all about of having fun, but also competing at the same time and doing it all together.
The National Soccer Tournament is just one big vibe check. When we think about all of the work that goes into putting this tournament on, hundreds of volunteers, months in advance to put on what is some of the best collegiate soccer, certainly at a club level around the country. I know it's meant a lot to you all who have put in a lot of that work as two of our great volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a part of the NIRSA Championship Series and specifically this tournament?
Yeah, I think a really big piece of NIRSA Champ Series and the soccer tournament in general is the connections you get, right? A lot of people throw around the word family and they mean that. That has a lot of gravity, especially with the soccer national tournament. But Champ Series in general, we make lifelong connections throughout our industry, throughout the country, regardless of where people are from and how they get to the tournament, you walk away with those connections that you can reach out to later on, whether it's for the next year's tournament or just work things in general life. The number of people that I still talk to from last year's tournament that I just met for the first time was something I really didn't expect, but I love so much about the Champ Series in national soccer.
Yeah, similar to what Keith said, last year was my first year going to soccer nationals, and I got to meet a lot of people who I still talk to every single day, follow on social media, still are planning to hang out once we go to nationals again. So it's great, the aspect of the family, which is very big especially with NIRSA soccer that I've noticed. Very welcoming, a lot of opportunities to hang out, a lot of opportunities to network. And I think that's something that's very important and something that keeps bringing me back to national soccer.
Memories will be made in just a couple of weeks in Round Rock, Texas for players and staff alike. I want to say thank you again to both of you, for Keith, for Jess, for joining us and providing your analysis into this tournament. We're going to send it to Dave Peters back one more time, who's got some important information to close out our show. But from our Gainesville studios, my name is Marty Dempsey. We thank you for joining us here on the Selection Show, and good luck to all of our players this year at the 2023 NIRSA National Soccer Championships. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks again, Marty, and thanks to all of our special guests for joining us for this year's show. Well, now that you've seen the pool play lineup, let's talk about playoff qualification. And on the Open Division side, it's rather simple. There are 8 total teams, 6 pool champions, and 2 wild cards, mostly the best second place teams in those different pools. Well, they'll make it into that 8-team pool. It is not predetermined, and so our tournament administration there will see how the performances go and slot those teams accordingly into the playoffs, which will begin on Friday. The championship for Open is at 1 p.m. Central on Saturday. Now, on the championship division side, it is predetermined. In fact, take a look at the bracket here, and you will see that from the top 2 teams that make it out of each pool, they go into the bracket in a certain place. So the champion from Pool A, there in the upper left, will play the runner-up from Pool D, and then the next match down is the champion from Pool H, plays the runner-up from Pool E, and so forth all the way around. So you can take a look and see where you will land if you make a championship performance in pool play or the runner-up. That's where you'll go. The playoffs begin for our championship division on Friday. The championship matches for the national titles are on Saturday. The men start at 3 p.m. The women are at 5. Both of those will be streamed online live for folks to join from away from Round Rock. All right, let's finish off today's show with some reminders for our team captains. You all received an email, or should have, from NIRSA headquarters. Make sure you read that thoroughly. It has information including player certification forms, when to get those uploaded, what to bring to the tournament, all of that. Plus, we have tournament gear this year. We've got tees and hoodies available on site, along with concessions if you're hungry. We've got exam proctoring for those players who need to take an exam while they're at the tournament. We want to make sure you're up on your academics too. If you need information on that, make sure you check the email for how to contact us, particularly for that exam proctoring. Check-in for teams begins at 4 p.m. Central Time at the Round Rock Multipurpose Complex on Wednesday. It'll go from 4 to 7. You just need one person to stop by the fields and check in your team. If you're going to be late, email us. We'll put you on the late arrival list. We make sure we keep you in the tournament. But make sure you stop by again, 4 to 7 Central, Round Rock Multipurpose Complex to check in. There's not a captain's meeting, but our directors of competition will be on site at check-in to answer your questions. We also have 1-hour practice times available on Wednesday between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. You can sign up for a time using the link in the email. And also during check-in, if more than just the captain shows up, players can be there too for our longest punt and closest to the centerline competitions between 5 and 7 on Wednesday there at the fields. They're free. You can win some prizes. Players can also participate in our juggling contest throughout the day on Friday alongside the matches there at the fields. That contest will take place near the tournament desk. Matches get started as early as 8 a.m. on Thursday, so be ready. Playoffs are Friday. They go into Saturday. Again, the championships on Saturday. Open division at 1 for both men and women. The men's championship, national championship match is at 3. The women's championship division final is at 5 p.m. All times are central, and it'll all be streamed online. The only thing you need when you get there, other than uniform, be ready, is make sure you have photo ID before every game. Every player will need that to check in. We'll have athletic trainers on site as well. They'll be there in case there's an injury. And if you need some pre-wrap or pre-taping before your match, they can do that. Just make sure you bring your own tape and bring your own pre-wrap. That'll speed up the process. There is an entry fee for spectators. It's $10 per day or $25 for the entire tournament. We have a cheaper rate for seniors 60 and above, and kids 12 and under are free. We also have pre-sales of passes. So look for an email from NIRSA so you can pick up some passes beforehand, and then you can pick up the ones that you have already purchased at check-in. That might speed up things a little bit as you get to the gate. Otherwise, you can just buy them at the gate. Your spectators can too when they get there. Follow all the action. There'll be a lot of it next week, and you do that online at nirsaplay.com, or you can hit up social media at NIRSAChamp or on Twitter or X, and also Instagram, and on YouTube. That's where you're going to find the streaming coverage of our finals. Again, men's championship at 3, women's championship at 5 Central. That's on Saturday. Thanks to Marty and again, all of our special guests for joining us. Production assistance today by Ian Michael and Corey Granholm. And thanks to you for watching. That's it. We look forward to seeing you next week in Round Rock, Texas for the 2023 edition of the NIRSA National Soccer Championships. I'm David Peters, and this is a production of NIRSA, Leaders in Collegiate Recreation.